Okay, scrambles will be in the description, and if there's any algs that you're curious about, yeah, feel free to ask in the comments down below and I'll let you know. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. Okay, so for this case, I recognize that these two are opposite and this is adjacent, which means that any slice plus soon variation is going to solve CP. So from this angle, I do it like this and get an RUSU perm, which I'll solve like that. Number 2. Okay, so for this case, I recognize these two are opposites. This is adjacent, which means I can solve OLCP using that alg there. And U perm. Number 3. Okay, so for this OLL, I do what Felix does basically, and just do EO, unless it's the CP solve case, but it's not here. So EO into pretty good CVL. Number 4. Okay, so for this case here, I recognize these two are opposite, and this is adjacent. So this isn't an OLCP, I know, but I do know ROL for it. So I know that using my main alg, I'll get headlights on the right. And my main alg looks like this. So headlights on right, JPEG. Number 5. Okay, so again, I don't know the OLCP. I recognize these two match and these two match, but yeah, I don't know it, but I do know the RLL, which tells me that headlights will be on the right. So that is my standard alg, and F perm. Number 6. Okay, so like the last two, don't know the OLCP. I recognize these two are opposite. Oh, I recognize basically these green ones match, and this one's opposite. Kind of like Nicholas, I guess. But yeah, don't know the OLCP, but I do know that headlights will be on the left from ROL. So like that, and straight into TPO. Number 7. Okay, so here I recognize these two are opposite. This is adjacent, which it is an OLCP, I know. So the alg is from this angle, and it looks like this. And then Z-perm. Number 8. Okay, so here I recognize that these two are adjacent, and this one, sorry, these two match, and this is adjacent. So I don't know this OLCP, but I do know from RLL, headlights can be on the front. So I can do that and get JA. Number 9. Okay, so the first thing I see is all these blocks. I've got a block here and here and here, which would usually be enough to tell me it's going to skip, but the CP is actually Nicholas, because these two match and this is opposite, and the skip case doesn't have Nicholas CP. So I know it's not going to be CP solved, but it is going to have a ton of blocks, which basically means it's a JPerm. And if I do the alg, you'll see it is indeed a JPerm. Okay, number 10. Okay, so here I recognize that these two are adjacent and these two match, and just block here and block here, which is, it's a really easy ZBL. It just looks like that. Number 11. Okay, so for this case, I recognize that these two are opposite and this is adjacent, which means that it's this OLCP here. And I get a Z-perm. Solved. Number 12. Okay, so for this case here, well, I recognize that these two are opposite and these two are the same. The standard alg is the inverse of that, where these two are opposite and where these two are the same and these two are opposite. So I know I'm going to get diag if I do the standard alg. There's two approaches that I think are good for this particular CP. The first approach is to do EO, which gives you a 2GL, which is pretty nice. In this case, it'll look like that. The other approach that I think is worth using, or might be worth using, I haven't timed them out, But the other one that might be worth using is to do OLCP, which from this angle is just anti-soon for a rough. Okay, so for this case it skips it. I don't think, yeah, it's not like a super easy recognition for the skip. So I'd just be recognizing OLCP here. But yeah, I think EO into ZB is generally better for that case, but I haven't actually timed it to see. But yeah, that was number 12. Number 13. Got my turning. Okay, so for this one I recognize these two match. This is adjacent, which means that I can solve OLCP using that alg there. And UPerm, done. Number 14. Okay, so same, like Felix MDX OLL as before. For this one though, these match and these match, which tells me it's going to be 2GLL. So EO, and it's not my favorite 2GLL, but it's still pretty damn fast. Number 15. Okay, so this one you could do all onto PLL. I don't really like it. I know I'm going to get an edge case, and I'm not a huge fan of the alg. It's kind of fast, but pretty inconsistent for me. So what I prefer to do instead for this case is just to do EO, and I use a com for that, which cycles this edge, and this edge, which means I can basically predict my ZBL in advance, because I can see this red edge will end up here, this blue edge will end up here, which is enough information for me to recognize the ZB. So do that, and then go straight into the ZBLL. Number 16. Yeah, that previous case is one where, again, I'm not 100% sure that that's better than just doing OLL, but I don't know, I seem to prefer it. Anyway, for this case, I recognize these two match, and this is opposite, so it's net class CP, which is the CP that is solved by, I think, the most common alg, which is just this one here. And then UPerm. Sorry, I messed up the AUS, but yeah. Number 17. Okay, so I recognize headlights on the left, no headlights here, so I'm getting an edge case with headlights on the left, and my alg for this, well, yeah, the alg that I'm going to use for this OLL preserves this block here. So it's either going to be GA or A. I think it's AA, but yeah, if I look at it more, I can see it's actually going to be GA, because, well, it just is, but sorry, AA, I mean, not GA. Yeah, because this is going to come over here and form this orange-green block. I probably wouldn't see that in actual solve, but I'd see that it would be GA or AA. So like that, solved. 18. Okay, so for this one I recognize these two match, which means that any of the standard alg variations that people use will solve CP for this case. A lot of people at AUF and do like back anti-soon from here. I prefer to just do back double fat soon, I guess, without AUFing, which would look like this. And then UPerm. Number 19. Okay, so for this one, these two match. This is adjacent, which means, well, it means it's actually soon 2GLL. I don't know soon 2GLL. Maybe I should learn it, but I just know that I'll get solved CP. And I think a UPerm. Yeah, UPerm. Cool. Number 20. Okay, so for this case I recognize these two match. This is adjacent, which means that the standard alg from this angle will solve CP, and I'll get an H-perm. Number 21. Okay, so for this case I recognize these two match, and this is adjacent, which means that the standard alg that most people use is going to solve CP again. So solve CP and UPerm. 22. Okay, so for this case, it's the opposite CP from the last time I had a double fat zone thing. So yeah, these two match and these two match, which tells me that if I do the standard alg, I'll get, yeah, diag, in this case a VPerm, which is, you know, pretty gnarly. So what I prefer to do instead, especially from this angle, is just do EO into ZBLL, which will actually give me a 2GLL, like that. And yeah, pretty nice one. That's one of my favorite 2GLLs. So, number 23. Okay, so this is a one-dot class layer that I know. It's pretty nice to know. The standard alg will actually give you a JPerm, which is, fine, but if you can do it in one look, it's, better, I guess. So here I recognize the two blocks and this bar across here, and that's enough to know which case it is. So the alg looks like this. Solved. 24. Okay, so for this case, I see the net class CP, where these two match. This is opposite, which means I actually know this OLCP case, and it looks like this. And I get a Z-perm. 25, halfway there. Okay, so for this case, I'd recognize these two match, not the two blue ones match, and this is adjacent. So I don't know this OLCP case, but I do know that from ROLL that I'm going to get headlights on... Actually, I think it's going to be headlights on right, but I'm not 100% sure. Come to think of it, I should relearn this one. The other thing that I know is that this whole block and this one here is going to be preserved. So it doesn't solve CP, but, blocks for days, it's going to be a JPerm, just like the fat zone thing that I had before. So like that, and, oh, okay. Headlights on the left, so I just got that one confused. I should drill that one a bit more. But yeah, like I said, JPerm. Solved. 26. Okay, same exact OLL that I had before. Different CP case though. For this one, I'd recognize that these two are opposite, and this is adjacent. I'm pretty sure I know the ROLL for this ROLL for this case, which is that headlights be on front. But yeah. Anyway, it's an AUF trick this time, so it looks like that. And yeah, headlights are on the front. JA once again. Solved. 27. Okay, this is pretty simple. These two match. This is opposite, which means that my standard alg will solve CP, which looks like this. And UPerm, done. 28. Okay, so for this case, I'd recognize that these two here match. This is adjacent, which means that this OLCP alg will, solve OLCP. UPerm, solved. 29, I think? I don't know. I'll go back afterwards. I'm pretty sure it's 29 though. Anyway, for this case, I recognize these two match. This is opposite, which means my standard alg I use for this OLL will solve CP, which looks like that. Get a UPerm. Solved. 30. Okay, for this case, I'd recognize that these two match, and this one here is opposite, which means that my standard alg from here will give me headlights on front. And yep, then GC. Solved. 31. Okay, so here I see headlights here and headlights here, which means it's an ELL, and this is actually an ELL that I know, because this blue edge matches these two blue corners, and this red edge matches these two red corners. So this ELL is just a combination of two OLLs, and the way I do it looks like this. F6 F prime, U prime, and then the variation of F6 F prime. Anyway, pretty nice ELL to know. 32. Okay, this is again a one-dot class layer. Well, it's a ZBLL, but two one-dot class layers in a row, which is pretty cool. This is, okay. I recognize the blocks here and here, and these two match, and this is opposite these two. So yeah, the alg starts like this case. So that, but then U prime, S prime, insert and done. 33. Okay, so for this case, I recognize that these two are opposite, and this is adjacent, which means that my standard alg will actually give me a diag case. So instead of using my standard alg, I'll just use a different OLCP for anti-diag to mean that I get adjacent instead. So for this case, it'll look like this, and get a JPARM. 34. Okay, so this is actually a case that I made a video on. I recognize that these two match, these two are opposites, so I'll hold the matching ones at the front and do the best alg for that OLL. And UPerm, solved. 35. Okay, so for this case, I recognize that these two match, and this is opposite, which means that I can solve OLCP like this, and UPerm. 36. Getting there. I'm going to do 50 of these, so yeah. Okay, so for this case I recognize that these two are opposites, and I mean here I'd see that this big bar, but strictly in my recognition system, I'd recognize that these two are opposites and these two match, so it looks kind of like Nicholas to me. The standard alg here will give diag, which is, you know, it's okay. If you really wanted to avoid diag, you could do EO like that. Sorry, EO like that or something to get 2 GLL. I don't think that's worth it at all, really. Maybe you do, but I just take the diag case, and in this case, yeah, that's a wiper, so it's fine. 37. Okay, so for this case, again, strictly speaking, my recognition system is that these match, and this is adjacent, but here, you know, I'm facing these headlights, I'm not going to miss them. So, headlights and these match. And OLCP looks like this, and I get a UPerm. 38. Okay, so here, these match, these are opposite, and I've got these two blocks, which means that, I mean, you can see it as OLCP with a PLL skip, or one class layer. I kind of just see it as a one class layer, but yeah, that alg and yeah, PLL skip. 39. Okay, again, two one class layers in a row. It's pretty cool. Yeah, so this is an LZBL case. It's pretty nice. These two match. This is opposite, and I've got this big block. So I know that the alg is like this, and U2, done. 40. Okay, so for this case, obviously recognize these two match, these two are opposites. I don't think the COLL case is particularly worth using, but I know the ROLL information, which is that I'm going to get headlights on the front. So we do that, headlights on front, and GB, done. 41, into the last 10. Okay, so for this case, I recognize that these two match, and this is adjacent, which means I'm not going to solve CP. But my standard alg preserves this block, and it flips this edge and rotates this corner. So these stickers basically just move down to here, which means if you know how to do two-sided PLL recognition, you can recognize that you've kind of got headlights here with an opposite edge in between them and a block here. So I know that it's actually going to be T-perm. If I do the alg, you'll see that it is indeed T-perm. 42. Okay, so same OLL that I just got, different CP case though. With this one, I see that these two match, and this is opposite, which means I can do OLCP from here. And actually, so this one again, I can look at what's being preserved. So the OLCP alg from this angle preserves this whole block and this whole block. So if I've got two preserved blocks and solve CP, that means it's going to be a PLL skip. I'm pretty sure of that. Yeah, okay. Cool. 43. Okay, so with this case, I recognize that these two match and these two are opposites. So I don't know this OLCP, but I know the ROLL information, which is that I'm going to get headlights on left. So OLL, headlights on left, rperm, solved. 44. Okay, another pretty, well, no, I wouldn't say this is a pretty easy CPLL, but it's, you know, it's fine. It's average, I guess. I just recognize that these two match, and this blocks here. And also, if I look at it from this angle, I see these matching stickers. It's not a block, but yeah, it's just another piece of information that I know about it. So, the alg is like this. And it's done. 45. Almost done. Okay, so for this case, headlights here, no headlights here, so it's going to be an edge PLL with headlights on the front. So go like that, and yeah, rperm. 46, almost done. Okay, so for this case, CP recognition is pretty easy. These two match, these two match. I don't know an OLL CP for this, but I know ROLL, which is that I'm getting headlights on left if I do the L from this angle. So I do that and get a J-perm. I feel like I've got a lot of J-perms so far. Anyway, 47. Okay, so for this case, again, I don't know an OLL CP, but I know the ROLL, and I know two algs for this. I can either do it from here or from here. They do the exact same thing, and they're basically the same speed. It's just an AUF trick, but if I do it from here, I get headlights on the left, which is, you know, why not if it's the same speed? And another J-perm. Cool. 48. Okay, so for this one, these two match, these two are opposites, which means basically everyone's standard alg is going to solve the CP here. If it's not your standard alg, it just looks like this. And then UPerm. 49. Cool. So for this case here, Nicholas CP, these two match, this is opposite. So I don't know an OLL CP for this, but I know I'm going to get headlights on left from ROLL. So like that, headlights on left, GC, AUF, done. Last one, number 50. Okay, so for this case, these two match. This is adjacent to these two, so I know this OLL CP, which looks like this. And yeah, UPerm, solved. So that's 50 plus layer example solves. Hopefully you learned something, or if there's something better that you think I could do for any of the ones that I showed, feel free to comment it down below. And let me know if you want me to do any more of these in future. Cheers.